Episode 2. The whispering town detective, Ryan Blake, couldn't shake the feeling that Emily Carter's disappearance was just the tip of the iceberg. Silver Pine, the quaint little town nestled amidst rolling hills and dense forests, held an eerie silence. The streets seemed quieter than usual. The townsfolk's smiles faltered, and behind closed doors, whispers spread like wildfire. The morning after his initial investigation, Ryan returned to Emily's home, this time with a team of forensic specialists. The house was undisturbed, no signs of forced entry or a struggle, but there was something undeniably off. It felt as if the walls themselves held secrets they weren't willing to give up. As the team dusted for prints and combed through the house, Ryan ventured into Emily's small study. The room smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. A bookshelf lined with novels and teaching guides caught his eye, but it was the worn leather journal on the desk that drew him in. He opened it carefully, his eyes scanning the neat handwriting. The earlier entries were mundane, notes about her students, grocery lists, and musings on life. But as he flipped closer to the back, the tone shifted. The writing became erratic, the sentences fragmented. The final entry sent a chill down his spine. The shadows are watching. I see them everywhere. I feel them when I close my eyes. They whisper my name, but I won't let them in. Not yet. Ryan read the words again, the weight of their meaning settling heavily in his chest. Emily had been afraid, terrified even. But of what? Or who? Later that day, Ryan decided to visit the local cafe, a hub for town gossip. The regulars were huddled in small groups, their voices low. As he approached the counter, the chatter stopped, replaced by curious glances and a heavy silence. He ordered a coffee and sat near the window, pretending to scroll through his phone. It didn't take long for someone to approach him. It was an older man, his face weathered and lined, wearing a coat that had seen better days. "You're the detective, right?" the man asked, sliding into the seat across from Ryan, without waiting for an invitation. Ryan nodded. "Detective Blake. And you are?" "Call me Frank," the man replied, glancing around nervously. "I live a couple streets over from Emily. Saw you at her place yesterday." Ryan leaned forward slightly, his interest piqued. "What can you tell me about her?" Frank hesitated, rubbing his hands together. "Nice girl, always polite. But something changed a few months ago. She started keeping to herself, didn't come out much. And then there was that man." "What man?" Ryan pressed. "I don't know his name. Tall, dark coat, always wearing a hat that hid his face. I saw him standing outside her house a few times. Thought he was a delivery guy at first, but he never had packages. Just stood there, watching." Ryan's pulse quickened. This was the second time someone had mentioned a mysterious figure near Emily's home. "Did you ever see them interact?" Frank shook his head. But one night, I was walking my dog, and I heard voices coming from her backyard. It sounded like an argument, her voice and a man's. By the time I got close enough to see anything, the lights were off and it was quiet." Ryan thanked Frank and left the cafe, his mind racing. Emily's journal, the strange man, the muffled arguments. It was all adding up to a picture he didn't like. Back at the station, Ryan reviewed the journal entry again. The phrase, "the shadows are watching," gnawed at him. It wasn't just paranoia. Emily had felt hunted. That night, as Ryan drove through the winding streets of Silver Pine, he noticed how the town itself seemed to change. The once charming lampposts now cast eerie, elongated shadows, and the rustling of leaves sounded like whispers in the wind. Stopping at Emily's house one last time, before calling it a night, Ryan stood on the front porch, staring out into the darkened street. He could feel it now. The same unease Emily must have felt. The shadows were watching, and they weren't done yet.